If you have these signs, you're in a rarest dual dimension reality. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you've been taught about reality only covers half the truth. You're not crazy, but you're starting to feel like the world around you is somehow layered. Like there's a second dimension running parallel to this one, and you've been slipping into it without even knowing. Things feel off, but not in a bad way, in a deeply mysterious way. You notice the timing of things is too perfect to be random, like life is responding to your thoughts in real time. People say one thing, but you feel something entirely different behind their words. You start to see patterns that no one else sees. You sense something underneath everything, something intelligent, something ancient, something real. If this sounds like you, then you may be living in the rarest form of human experience, a dual dimension reality. And if that's true, nothing about your life is accidental. You were chosen to wake up inside the matrix while still inside it. And now, everything is about to change. We've been conditioned to believe that reality is fixed, linear, physical. That what we see, touch, and measure is all there is. But those of us who've stepped into the dual dimension reality know that's a lie. There's another layer of fluid, energetic, quantum layer just beneath the surface. And once you start tuning into it, you realize that you're never just living in one world. You're constantly shifting between two. In one, you play the roles, the student, the parent, the worker, the citizen. In the other, you're something much more, a soul, a seer, a creator, a watcher. You can sense things before they happen. You get intuitive hits that turn out to be true. You feel the emotions of people who haven't even spoken. You get drained in crowds. Technology glitches around you. You see repeating numbers that show up like breadcrumbs. You think of someone, and they text you. These aren't coincidences. They're echoes of the second dimension trying to get your attention.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But here's where it gets even more intense. This dual-layered reality isn't just spiritual, it's strategic. It's designed to awaken you, not to make you feel special, but to make you conscious. And when you begin to live with awareness of both dimensions at once, you step into the role of a multidimensional being. That means your actions no longer only affect the material world, they ripple through the unseen. Your thoughts create. Your emotions magnetize. Your frequency becomes a broadcast that shifts energy fields around you. This is why people are drawn to you. It's not your personality, it's your presence. They feel your depth, even if they can't explain it. But there's a cost to this awakening. You start to feel more isolated. You can't relate to surface-level conversations anymore. Small talk feels like static. You crave silence, nature, authenticity. You start to lose friends, jobs, even identities. It feels like your life is falling apart, but really, it's falling into place. Because the dual dimension reality can't support anything fake. It will strip away everything that isn't aligned with your soul. You'll be forced to confront your fears, your old patterns, your inherited programming. This isn't punishment, it's purification. Because in this reality, only truth can survive. So how do you know you're in it? How do you confirm that what you're feeling is real and not just imagination? You begin to notice time bending. Sometimes it speeds up. Hours vanish. Other times it slows to a crawl. You might feel like you've lived several lives in a single day. You start getting downloads, flashes of insight that feel like they're coming from somewhere beyond thought. You feel drawn to ancient knowledge, to symbols, to language you don't remember learning. You begin to feel watched, not in a paranoid way, but in a protected way. Like something is guiding you, testing you, initiating you. And deep down, you know you've been here before. One of the most powerful signs is that your inner world becomes more real than your outer one. You begin to trust your intuition more than logic. You stop needing external validation. You find a strength rising in you that no one gave you. It was hidden there all along. You start remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. This remembering isn't cognitive, it's cellular. It's in your bones. It's in your dreams. It's in the way your skin tingles when you hear certain music or walk into certain places. That's your soul recognizing its original frequency. But here's the challenge. This dual dimension reality requires mastery. Because you're living in two worlds at once, you have to learn how to balance them. You can't just float in the mystical, you still have to show up in the physical. Pay bills, raise kids, navigate conflict. But now, you do it with a different awareness. You begin to see the physical world as a theater, a projection of the energetic one. You stop reacting and start responding. You become the observer, the creator, the anchor. You ground the invisible into the visible. And that's when everything changes. So let me ask you something deeply personal. When was the last time you truly trusted the invisible over the visible? When was the last time you let your soul, not your fear, make a decision? If you're living in the dual dimension reality, then now is the time to listen to that inner GPS. Because the more you trust it, the more the second layer of reality reveals itself to you. And once it does, you can't go back. You're no longer just a player in the game, you're holding the code. And here's the final sign. Synchronicity becomes your new language. The universe speaks to you constantly. Through signs, numbers, dreams, songs, strangers. You start to feel your future before it arrives. And when it does, you're not surprised, you're aligned. You knew. You always knew. The architects of the in-between, why you were chosen to bridge two realities without losing your mind. Once you begin to accept that you are living in a dual dimension reality, something even more profound begins to surface, a realization that you are not just a witness of this layered existence, you are an architect of it. You were chosen not merely to experience both worlds, but to bridge them. To become the living thread that ties the seen and unseen, the human and the divine, the chaos and the order. And that responsibility is no small thing. It's the kind of mission that can't be forced, faked, or fabricated. It must be embodied. But here's the paradox: the more you awaken, the more unstable things may appear, especially in the beginning. That's because you're learning to walk with one foot in form and one foot in formlessness. Most people live entirely in one world or the other, but you're designed to hold both. You may have noticed by now that you've always felt in between. Not quite this, not quite that. Not fully mainstream, not fully outcast, not fully grounded, not fully ethereal. That's not a flaw, it's your signature. You were encoded to feel the tension between realities because only those who feel the split can mend it. You're not meant to choose a side. You're meant to fuse them. But here's where most people get lost. They try to resolve the duality by denying one half of it. They either dive so far into the spiritual that they forget how to live, or they anchor so deeply into logic that they forget how to feel. But mastery is not choosing one over the other. Mastery is holding both without losing your center. Being an architect of the in-between means you will often feel like you're walking on a tightrope between clarity and confusion, between light and shadow, between knowing and not knowing. You will receive insights that make no rational sense, but carry a deep, soul-level certainty. You will be guided to say things you never planned, to be in places you didn't expect, to let go of things you thought defined you. This is not chaos. This is calibration. You're being aligned with the higher blueprint of your soul, and you can't walk that path with old maps. You have to build the bridge as you walk it. This is why you've struggled to relate to most people. You've felt like the outsider in rooms full of noise. You've asked questions no one else was willing to ask. You've sensed lies that were decorated as truth. Others may have told you that you were too intense, too sensitive, too deep. But what they couldn't see is that you were tuned to a frequency they hadn't learned to hear yet. And that's okay, it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to hold the frequency anyway. Because that frequency is what activates others, even if they don't realize it. In this role, emotional mastery becomes your compass. You need to know when the storm is yours and when it's not. You need to learn how to feel everything without becoming everything. You must become the calm center, not by avoiding emotion, but by allowing it fully, consciously, without resistance. That's how you keep from losing your mind while dancing between worlds. The chaos doesn't consume you when you stop trying to control it. You become the still point around which the worlds spin. And let's be honest, there are days when this gift feels like a curse, days when the weight of holding this awareness is almost too much. You see too much, feel too much, know too much. But here's the truth that will set you free. You were never meant to carry it all alone. The bridge you build is not for isolation, it's for connection. There are others like you, architects, dream walkers, soul translators. And when you begin to live in alignment with your dual-dimensional nature, you begin to find them. Not through effort, but through frequency. You recognize each other in the silence, in the way your presence calms their nervous system, in the way the conversation bypasses small talk and dives straight into essence. So I ask you this, what if your lifelong feeling of not fitting in was never about rejection, but about protection? What if life kept you separate, not to punish you, but to preserve your code until the world was ready for it? You're not here to escape this world. You're here to recode it, to bring the unseen into the seen, to remind people of their own hidden dimensions, not by preaching, but by being. Every time you choose truth over conformity, intuition over logic, alignment over approval, you build the bridge. And step by step, the world changes. The hidden mechanics of multidimensional reality, how to navigate between physical and subtle worlds without losing energy. You've probably noticed it by now, this strange, almost invisible drain that happens when you're not fully aligned. One moment you're energized, clear, deeply connected to something bigger. Then, after a conversation, a place, or even a thought, you feel like your life force has evaporated. That's not your imagination. That's energetic leakage. And when you're living in a dual dimension reality, this becomes one of the most important things to master. Because you're not just engaging with the physical anymore, you're constantly interacting with subtle fields, energetic currents, and soul-level data streams. You're navigating a multidimensional terrain. And if you don't understand the mechanics of it, you'll find yourself exhausted, confused, and fragmented. But once you do understand it, you become unstoppable. You become a master of presence, a curator of energy, and a conscious traveler between worlds. Let's break something down that most people miss. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every emotion you feel is not just a personal experience. It's a broadcast. It goes out into the field and interacts with other frequencies. This is why some rooms feel heavy before anyone even speaks, why certain people make you feel drained even if they're smiling, and why your own inner state can shift a situation before you even act. In the physical world, we're taught to solve problems through action, but in the subtle world, it's vibration that leads. You don't need to fight the situation, you need to shift your field. That shift begins internally and it ripples out. But here's where it gets even more nuanced. Not every energy you feel is yours. When you begin to live multidimensionally, you become a receiver. You pick up on unspoken emotions, ancestral echoes, even collective energies floating in the atmosphere. You walk through a city and feel the weight of thousands of unresolved stories. You sit with a friend and suddenly feel sadness that doesn't belong to you. If you don't have awareness, you'll begin to identify with it. You'll think, I'm just tired, or I'm overwhelmed, when in fact you're absorbing and transmuting fields that aren't even yours. That's why the first law of energetic navigation is discernment. You must ask yourself constantly, is this mine? If not, let it pass through. Observe it, bless it, but don't claim it. Your nervous system is not a landfill for unprocessed emotions. Another critical piece is boundaries, not in the old rigid defensive way, but in a frequency-based way. You don't need to wall yourself off. You need to hold your signature. That means showing up in your full presence and not shrinking to make others comfortable. It means speaking truth without aggression, holding silence without guilt, and saying no without explanation. When you stand in your energy cleanly, firmly, others feel it. You stop attracting chaos. You stop leaking power. That's not arrogance, it's coherence. And coherence is what allows you to move between the physical and subtle realms without being pulled apart. Let's go even deeper. Multidimensional living isn't just about energy hygiene, it's about navigation. Knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen, when to move and when to anchor. This level of navigation requires tuning into something beyond logic, inner resonance. You feel it in your body, a lightness in the chest, a quiet knowing in the gut, a sudden stillness that tells you this is the path. But to access that guidance, you have to quiet the noise. That means unplugging from the digital storm, tuning out the opinions, and making space for your own signal to come through. This is why practices like meditation, breathwork, and deep solitude aren't luxuries, they're vital. You're not doing them to be spiritual. You're doing them to recalibrate your field, to cleanse the noise and return to your native frequency. Because only from that frequency can you make decisions that align across dimensions. You stop chasing outcomes, you start transmitting intention. You don't react, you respond from alignment. That's the difference between force and frequency. Force tries to push the world into shape. Frequency invites the world to organize around your coherence. Now, here's something most people never realize. The subtle world responds to clarity. The more clear you are about your values, your truth, your vibration, the faster the unseen aligns with you. That's why indecision drains you. It creates static in your field. The moment you commit, fully and energetically, the universe begins to conspire. But this clarity isn't mental, it's energetic congruence. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions are all speaking the same language. That's when doors open, opportunities flow, and miracles feel normal. You're not manifesting from ego, you're co-creating from alignment. So I ask you now, where are you leaking your power by saying yes when your energy says no? Where are you pretending not to feel what you already know? These are the questions that refine your field, that tune your inner compass, that allow you to walk between worlds without being drained, without being split, and without being silenced. To be clear, this path about escaping reality, it's about expanding it. It's about bringing more of your soul online so that your human experience becomes a living transmission of truth. The more you honor what you feel, the more you trust what you know, and the more you protect what is sacred inside you, the more naturally you navigate the multidimensional terrain. You stop fearing the unknown because you are the unknown. You carry the code. You hold the key. And now you're finally learning how to use it. You are the rift, how to embody the new dimensional blueprint without fragmenting your identity. By now, you've likely begun to sense the truth. You are not just living inside a dual dimension reality. You are the rift itself, the bridge, the intersection, the living, breathing vortex where the old world of separation meets the new world of synthesis. And this realization, while empowering, can feel incredibly destabilizing. because it means there is no longer a template to follow. You can't copy anyone else's path. You're not here to fit in or even to ascend. You're here to embody something entirely new. A dimensional blueprint that hasn't been lived before, not at this scale, not with this frequency, not through the human design that you carry. But to live that blueprint without fragmenting your identity, now that is the real work. Let's not sugarcoat it. Being the rift means you will often feel torn, pulled between the person you used to be and the self you're becoming, between the human roles you've played and the soul truth you now feel surging beneath them. There will be days where you feel like you're unraveling, like your thoughts, emotions, and sense of self are colliding and breaking apart. This is not failure. This is reconstruction. You are not losing your identity. You are shedding the false scaffolding that kept you safe in a world that no longer fits your vibration. And in that shedding, there is grief. There is fear. There is a terrifying freedom. But there is also the emergence of something extraordinary, your original self. To embody this next level self, you must release the idea that identity is fixed. Who you are is not a static label. It's a living, breathing frequency. It evolves. It expands. It breaks itself to let more divinity in. So when people ask, "Who are you now?" don't rush to define it. Let it be fluid. Let it be felt, not boxed. One of the greatest traps in this dimensional shift is the urge to create a new persona to replace the old one. But you don't need a new mask. You need presence. Presence is the anchor. It's what keeps you whole when everything around you and within you is shifting. It's the eye of the storm, the still point in the rift, the quiet knowing that doesn't need to explain itself. And you access it not by thinking more, but by being more. Being in your body, being in your breath, being in the truth of this exact moment without needing to escape into the future or collapse into the past. That's where the new blueprint starts to crystallize, not as a theory, but as a lived experience. And here's the paradox. The more you allow your old self to dissolve, the more your true essence becomes undeniable. You don't need to find your purpose. It begins to find you. Through resonance, through flow, through synchronicities that guide you like invisible stars. And the more you follow that guidance, the more natural it becomes to live as a multidimensional being in a human world. It's not about abandoning your humanity. It's about infusing it with your soul's light, integrating the divine with the mundane, bringing heaven down into your very breath, your voice, your walk, your presence. But this embodiment requires one final leap, radical self-trust. You have to trust your own frequency more than the noise of the world. You have to trust your body's signals, your intuition, your dreams, your sudden inner knowings that make no logical sense but resonate like ancient truth. Because in this dual-dimension reality, logic alone cannot navigate the terrain. Only your wholeness can. And that wholeness comes from integrating all parts of you, not just the light, but the shadow. Not just the wisdom, but the wounds. Not just the clarity, but the chaos. So let me ask you one last time, what would it look like to stop trying to become something and instead remember what you already are? You are the rift, the code bearer, the living portal. You are not here to escape this world. You are here to rewrite it from the inside out. And that starts with choosing, moment by moment, to live from the frequency of truth, even when it's uncomfortable. To walk in alignment, even when it's lonely. To speak from soul, even when your voice shakes. That's how the new reality is born, not as a fantasy, but as a frequency anchored in real time, through you. And when you do that, when you embody this rarest dual-dimension reality fully, without apology, you don't just change your life. You begin to alter the grid of reality itself, one breath, one word, one moment at a time. And that is the rarest miracle of all.